If you're a driven, active person who wants to reach and pursue a higher quality life with some ambition, then guess what? This podcast is for you. This is the Driven Athlete Podcast. What's up, y'all? It's your man, Dr. Kyle. We got the legend, Brianna Davenport, back with us again. We appreciate you coming in.
Of course.
And appreciate the swag that she's got on. She's got the cool ARC hat.
Let's go.
Facing forward. Welcome back. Thanks for coming in again.
Thank you for having me.
Today, we want to talk a lot about biohacking.
Yeah.
And all the things that can be done outside of what you would normally traditionally think of, like, oh, health and wellness program. Here's some additional stuff we can do, right? So we're going to talk about biohacking.
Yeah. So none of this is needed. It's just stuff like if you wanted to, you know, go further in depth.
Yeah.
I like to say it's like a little bit hippie, right? You're getting into some of the stuff that everybody's not doing every single day.
It's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
You know, like a little more soulful and
Exactly.
spiritual route.
Yeah.
Not quite. I mean, everyone has different opinions in different directions.
For sure.
But remind everybody again, though, what you're currently doing, your education background.
Yeah.
And then where were you at before, or like what you're involved with?
Yeah. So I am a nutritional therapy practitioner and a biomechanics fitness coach. So for nutrition, I have my own company, Coastal Breeze, BRI for my name, wellness. And so I take nutrition clients through there. I also work with people, fitness and mindset work as well. And then I also am at Hit It Great, formerly Joey D Golf. So I coach out of that location, out of Jupiter.
Doing fitness, golf fitness.
It's pretty much golf fitness. That's the main target audience, but a lot of just human movement, rotary, functional movement, kind of that in between, for me at least, a lot of the athletes that I see, like an in between of what you have in PT and then moving on to just like full blown, you know, back to programs or anything like that. So a lot of functional movement.
Yeah. Getting people back to like good moving patterns.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Bridging the gap.
Yes.
That's a great, and that's a great little like spot. I feel like there's a lot of people that we've worked with, and same thing you've worked with, where they're like, I feel a lot better physically. I feel good. My pains, my discomfort is a lot better.
Sure.
What can I do to work out?
Yeah.
Just go to LA Fitness? Do I just jump into a CrossFit gym? It's like, that at the end game, that's a great, of course.
Yeah, but the average person doesn't know how to just jump from one to the next. So.
And then, but they might be ready yet for a full go. You know what I mean? Where it's like, if someone's rehabbing from like knee surgery and they're a basketball player,
not
going to play a full game today.
Yeah, or even me, right?
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about that. Yeah.
So I had hip surgery 5 weeks ago.
Okay.
So labor repair, femoroplasty on the femur, so shaved the bone down, and then the psoas had gotten wrapped into the capsule, so they released that. But yeah, I mean, exactly that, right? I'm not ready to be back 100%, like lifting heavy weights, hinging and squatting yet. So I am in physical therapy myself. So, practice what you preach a little bit there.
That's cool.
So
I mean, when you're rehabbing right now, initially after post-op, I would imagine range of motion, just reestablishing range of motion, flexibility, activation of some muscles, regaining some strength.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, I mean, from my opinion, would be like, or we were related to patients. We're rebuilding and reestablishing the tolerance to just like weight bearing stuff.
For sure.
Prolonged activity. So like not jumping the gun too much too fast where it gets really, really sore, and that kind of hinders the healing progress.
And that's exactly where I'm at.
Okay.
So if my PT is watching this right now, I'm so sorry that I caused all these issues. But I'm like, I want to get back to all my normal routines and like just trust the process.
Yeah.
We
hear that all the time. Like, I just want to get back to my normal thing.
Yeah. Especially once you hit that like 80%, 85% mark and you really start feeling good, but it's not perfect.
Not ready yet.
And you're like, listen, the rest of me is dying to get into the gym or go do whatever activity I want to go do.
Yeah.
And you're just, you're not there.
Not quite. There's still, we're going to pull the reins a little bit.
For sure.
There's two kinds of athletic individuals we work with that are patients. There's the kind that's like, we're not really doing much and they're not seeing progress that they could. And we're like, we've got to light a fire in your butt. And like, let's get going. We've got to do more.
Yeah.
And then the other type that's like, so is it okay if I run a 5K yet?
Me?
No, not yet.
Can I go deadlift?
Rail it back in a little bit.
Yeah, they're like, you can run at like 12 weeks. I'm like, so maybe like deadlifting at 5?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, stop.
Yeah. So what you mean running? You mean like I can start then at 6 weeks and then...
Who wants to run?
I know,
Come on, I don't want to run. Just give me the heavy weights.
That's and then I'm the same way, I'm like, I'd rather just knock out a hit class. Like, I don't want to run, this isn't my thing,
Yeah, no.
But, all right, well, that's okay. Good. Once you're feeling better,
Feeling good.
Getting back to like 80% of like range of motion, strength, walking, tolerance to long-term weight bearing stuff.
Yeah. 85%, feeling really good.
Okay, good.
Hoping in the next couple of weeks
and no referred symptoms like down your leg. It's all pretty localized. Like if you do have some stiffness.
Yeah. I mean, definitely tight for sure. Right. Quads, IT band, adductors, abductors, everything real tight.
How's sleep?
Amazing.
Okay, good.
But I don't have a problem sleeping. If there's one thing I'm good at, it's sleeping. And my mom would tell anybody I've been good at sleeping.
I'm a really good sleeper. I just want to let you know that.
Really good at sleeping.
We hear a lot after post-op stuff, especially unfortunately, like rotator cuff is a really hard, challenging thing to do to sleep afterwards. Total knee replacements, does back in the day, don't do that anymore. But like post-op, it's tough to sleep because things like just come alive at night and you're not really focusing on anything else. So it's the only thing you're focusing on is like the surgical site. It's just like throbbing. And
what's nice for me is I slept in a machine for the first CPM. 4 weeks. Yeah. So it just kept me in flexion. So the first week it was like, I want to say it was 70-30. So it brought me to 70 as far out as 30, then 80-20, 90-10. And the last week was 100-0.
Okay,
so I mean, I think that made a drastic difference that I could actually sleep in that.
Yeah.
The last few days I started catching myself. I'd be like flipped out of it because I could just get out of it. I was like, all right, we're getting there.
Yeah.
But that made a whirlwind of a difference of keeping it moving. And
so then from this, now that you're in it, your humble suggestions would be like, just stick to the process, no rush, right? There's plenty of time to work on this stuff.
Yeah.
Just stay diligent with some things. Don't take too much too fast.
Yeah. I mean, and there's definitely been a couple of times that I recognize myself, I've overdid it,
like
overdone it by the end of the day. Just like I'm up and about and like when I should have still have been resting and icing, week 2, 3, 4, and I'm up on my crutches and wandering around, all of a sudden my arms are completely sore and, you know, trying to do all the things I normally would do, even as a mom, just around the house. And I'm like, hey, like you can ask for help. Yeah. That was humbling. I don't ask for help. I'm super independent, so all those little things for me of just like relax. It's just a moment in time and,
Because you have Olivia at home, right?
I do have Olivia.
She's 3.
She's 3.
Okay. She's the same age as my daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a lot. We had family.
They were playing together when we had that lunch. That's funny.
Yeah.
She's active.
Yeah.
Right.
Very, very active. But she understood. And that was a good thing I had my hip brace prior to surgery. So like I put it on, I showed it to her. Here's what's going to be going on. Ironically, through this entire process, she has decided she wants to be a doctor. So she was a doctor for Halloween. I was her patient.
Cool.
Yeah, it was.
That's an easy. That's great. Yeah, problem solved.
The amount of people who are like, "So is this fake?" And I'm like, who chooses to crutch around a neighborhood on Halloween
with a massive brace over there?
Yeah, by like 10 o'clock at night, everybody's like, "Okay, this is real. You're still on the crutches. You have
like you really went all out with this. And you're actually limping. Like this is cool. Like this is not fake. This is just real life.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Well, that's cool. Olivia, she wants to be a doctor. That's good.
She wants to be a doctor. Yeah. Cool. So that was cute.
So, I was gonna say, you sound like an 8. Are you familiar with the Enneagram?
Oh yeah.
Did we talk about this?
We did. We're both 8s.
Yeah. You sound like an 8 for sure.
Why? Because I said that I needed to ask for help and I'm super independent.
Yeah. And they're not supposed to guess other people's thing. Or you just like make, opinions and stuff.
Oh
like,
yeah. I'm a very, very hard Enneagram 8.
If everybody else is familiar, I'm a big advocate for the Enneagram. It just makes sense. It's just a personality tool, reflection tool to see the lens in which maybe you or other people would see the world. It just changes perspectives and frames.
Yeah.
But an 8 is usually a little bit more independent.
Challenger.
They're the challenger. And the confrontation is somewhat of like a game, like they anticipate it or like kind of look forward to like an argument. It's like a good argument. With the right people.
Within reason,
Within
right?
reason.
Yeah.
And then the core, because it all comes down to core desires and core fears. And I think that if you remember, the core desire is to maintain autonomy and independence, and then control.
And then truth and justice, yeah.
And then the core fear is like being manipulated or being controlled and like on a leash and held down.
100%. So for me, after surgery, I'm like held down, not by a leash, but held down by my crutches. I'm like,
ain't it to ask for help?
I have to ask for help.
The two of those things. That's it's good. It's a good experience, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're working with clients that hit it great. Okay,
I am.
Functional capacity and fitness, Coastal Breeze Wellness for health,
overall wellness,
nutrition, wellness,
nutrition, fitness,
coaching,
mindset,
pretty much
all of it. Yeah.
And mindset. Good. What are I want to ask again, what are some of the most common questions that clients ask you? So we're like, hey, I want to work with you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. What do they ask?
The biggest one, I think people tend to think I am a dietitian, which is not the case. And with that, a lot of times the thing that's inferred is that I'm going to take all these things away from you and you're never going to have anything ever again. And we talked about that in the first podcast. Yeah. That in my mind, it doesn't work. It doesn't work for me and it doesn't work for anybody else I've ever worked with. There are people out there that can just say, you know what, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z the rest of my life. And they can stick by that. Good for you.
Cold turkey.
Amazing. Yeah. And so the biggest question is like, what do I have to give up? Like, what are you going to make me give up? What kind of things do I have to do? Like, those are the words that are placed in there. And that's not the case. And I think a lot of people like get that sigh of relief and they're like, oh, thank God. Like, you know, I don't actually have to give up all of these things. How do we work with this?
Seems more doable.
Yeah. So I explained to everybody, I'm like, it's completely bio-individual when I work with you, right? I even made a reel the other day joking about it, said, what do I eat in a day? Right. And I think people were kind of going to get hyped of like, oh, what does she eat? And then I put, who the F cares? Right. Because what I'm doing, what you're doing, what my clients are doing, it doesn't matter. Like everyone's going to be so different. And that is the first thing majority of people ask, like, what do I have to give up?
So then the comparison of diets and stuff, like what's the generic comparison? That's not the case.
Yeah. There isn't a generic. Right. I mean, I could say certain things. Certain things are evident for everyone. Hydration. You need water. Yeah. You need electrolytes. Your body needs it. You have to have proteins. It's the building blocks of your body. Right. But like, as far as the exact foods you're going to eat, how much of those foods, you know, how much exercise do you need per week? What does that look like?
Right.
You know, like right now, I can't get into intense movements. So I'm even very different from what I was a couple months ago. And I'm eating less calories because I'm not, you know, burning as much by going to the gym. So even just for myself, what I've done in the last few months is completely different.
Yeah.
Supplements are different, all of it.
That's a great suggestion, great segue there. What supplements do you find yourself suggesting to people the most? Yeah.
So for me, because of how I'm working holistically with nutrition, a lot of like gut health issues, stuff like that. With it being athletically based, those are my primary clients that I work with. Or again, we talked about this before, somebody who has that athletic mindset, right? You're 50 years old, but you played sports in high school. That doesn't leave you. Like I still consider you an athlete because that's your mindset of how you
like a driven, athletic person.
Almost like the podcast.
Man, it's so crazy. How'd that work? Yeah.
So with that, I do a lot of gut health stuff with nutrition, and then things for like, ATP, rejuvenation of the mitochondria, if we're going a little deeper into things. So basically, what does that mean in human words? You're working out in the gym, you're doing all these hard things, your body needs to recover. How do we help all of those cells turn over and push you forward with progress, right? You don't need it. Your body will naturally work for you. Your body is your biggest advocate. It wants to help you. Right. But what are some things you can just add to make it better, right?
To amplify and facilitate those processes.
Yeah, and on top of then adding sleep and all of those other things that we kind of talked about. So today, like all of the supplements we're going to talk about today or any of the biohacking is just, let's add this on to make it even better, you know? So again, it's not a need. You don't have to go spend all the crazy money. That's not what it's for. But if it's something that you want to add, do it. So for me, one of the biggest companies that I personally like is called Cellcore Biosciences. Okay. A lot of what they focus on has to do with gut health, but they have a lot of great supplements like overall minerals. They have one called BCATP that again helps with your ATP, with your cells, all of that. They have a glucose optimizer that helps with your blood sugar spikes and whatnot. A metabolic activator helps with your metabolism. A lot of what they name each supplement just aligns with what it's doing, right? So those few that I just mentioned, those four, I call that like my athlete pack. It's beneficial for anyone to really take. Okay. It's going to help you in and out of the gym. It's going to help with recovery. It is going to help with your energy, things like that. As far as athletes, obviously, like with myself, right, I'm dealing with some joint stuff in my hip. So I want any kind of inflammation to be down. You have the obvious, right? I'm going to ice. Like that's at the forefront. Right. With that, though, things like we talked about prior, turmeric for the inflammation, omegas. So I'm taking some fish roe from Paleo Valley. Both of those, the turmeric and the fish roe, are both from Paleo Valley. So they're a great company overall. They have a lot of
Paleo
good
Valley.
Snacks. Yeah, they have a lot of good like beef snacks. protein bars, things like that. Just a really, really great company with quality ingredients in all of their products. So that's a good one for joints.
I understand with turmeric.
inflammation.
I've seen a lot of studies and stuff that are pretty promising with anti-inflammatory properties, and then also joint pain related improvements.
Yeah.
But turmeric with black pepper helps with the absorption, like 90% or something like that.
Okay. I haven't seen that, but I believe it.
Turmeric.
Absolutely.
So anyway, with that being said, from what I've seen, right, clarify this, like just, do some due diligence. My understanding is turmeric with black pepper is going to help with the absorption of the turmeric a little more legitimately.
I've also seen turmeric. So what I take is in capsules.
Yeah.
And they say that if you open the capsule and your tongue and your mouth is actually exposed directly to the turmeric, it has different and better effects as well. Yeah.
I can see that. That makes total sense.
So
the casing's on there.
Yeah. A lot of it is just kind of testing for yourself, being body aware, recognizing like, hey, that made a difference, right? So if I've taken it in capsules for a week straight and all of a sudden the only thing I change the next day is open it up and I feel better, maybe there's some value to it.
Yeah. And then with omegas, so fish oil.
Yeah.
What I've also read with that is the EPA and DHA content are the actual active ingredients that help with the anti-inflammatory components or heart health. And I've noticed with different brands looking at that, there's not a lot of that potency. And the one that I've noticed the most that has the most potency is Nordic Naturals.
Yeah.
And I'm currently taking like the 2X with the 2 times, but I'm taking 1 capsule. I'm taking 2.
Okay.
Because I don't need to overload. But anyway, that's what I've read. Have you had something similar with that, like with different branding?
Yeah. And here's the deal with supplements, right? Like we could probably have 7,000 podcasts on supplements because there's so many brands, right? How many, just speaking about one thing, pick something. Magnesium. How many magnesiums are out there, right?
Yeah.
And to me, it's the same thing as food. You can go to any store and get beef, right? There's ground beef at every store. It's all from different companies. Maybe it's the actual store's brand, like there's Kirkland, but then they order from somebody else. Just quality stuff. So doing your due diligence. Obviously, I'm name dropping some companies that I just personally like, but finding just good companies. So if yours is good and you like the quality, go for it.
Yeah, I've seen Nordic anyway, that's my same thing, personal preference. From what I've been exposed to so far, Nordic Naturals seems to be a really good one. What about ginger?
Ginger's great.
In alignment with turmeric.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same, is that what you've read too, like anti-inflammatory properties?
Absolutely, yeah. And same thing as far as how your body's receiving it could be different. So if you are just straight up eating it and gnawing on it, like you may see different benefits to it, or like how you can get it, shredded like with our sushi on the side, the benefits of that even for gut health.
Yeah.
And so having it in different ways, seeing what works for you, absolutely along the lines with turmeric. What
I got recently was the quinol, turmeric, black pepper, and ginger.
Okay.
Combo.
Yeah.
In a capsule.
Yeah.
And I mean, so far, I feel pretty good with it.
Do you feel different?
A little less achy for sure.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, right. Testing it.
Yeah.
And just
when I'm not on it, like if I run out, like, I got to order more, and there's like a 3-week time between, I'm like, I do feel a little achier. It's interesting.
This is why I have clients to do a food and mood journal. So they're documenting the food and the drinks that they're having.
Food and mood journal.
Mood being everything, right? I woke up groggy. I woke up sore. I woke up whatever. By 3 o'clock, I'm tired. And it starts to find patterns within what you're doing. But with that, now all of a sudden you've documented for a few days and you add something, right? A supplement or whatever, and nothing else changes. And now the mood starts shifting. It's like, I slept great. I woke up without pain. Right? And now it's like, well, the only thing you changed and the puzzle piece was this. So helping people become body aware is a huge part of what I do too.
That makes a ton of sense. So talk more about the tactics, food and mood journal.
Yeah.
What you recommend is you write down everything that you eat, and then your mood that within the next 24 hours? Or?
Yeah. So, I mean, I have it in my software when clients work with me that they can go in and plug it in. But like if you were to just do this, everything as it pertains to food, log it. Drinks, log it. So even if you just have some water in the morning, log that. Like any bit of information that they can add is valuable.
Right.
So I tell them, like, if you think that you might want to add it, just add it. I'd rather see it. Any kind of supplements, any medications they're taking, because maybe something you're taking in the morning is affecting you later in the afternoon.
Right.
And like, let's try to find those puzzle pieces. With me, everybody who knows me, we're big on the bowel movements. It makes a difference. I want to know those things.
Of course.
Texture, color, if there's a weird smell, right? Because all of those things are telling me something about your gallbladder, your liver, your digestion, what's going on. So if something's off there, we may see, okay, we need to get something going with gut health and just connecting all the dots, right?
Yeah. So something's not going, in general, right?
Yeah.
Don't feel general malaise, right?
Right.
Fatigue, weakness.
Exactly.
Like, I just feel like lethargic. I'm not getting up.
Exactly.
I'm not working out like I usually do. It's like, what changed? And then the bowel movement and the stool samples can play a role with decision making and figuring some things out.
Yeah.
And then the food and mood log.
Yeah.
All those, like, no stone left unturned, and kind of figure out, like, not making guesses.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And so that's where then the Cellcore side of gut health has come in a lot with my clients, and plays a huge role. I myself am on a detox protocol right now that lasts about 5 to 6 months. So it's pretty deep. And I did it because I knew that a lot of things were going into my body that I didn't want in my body for surgery, as far as even, during surgery, right after the pain medications and all of that. Like, I wanted that out of my system.
Yeah.
That's not stuff that my body's used to having, and I wanted to rid it immediately.
Right.
So yet again, something that was bio-individual to me that I'm not telling everybody, hey, just go detox this very harshly right now.
Yeah.
So finding what's going on individually.
What else with your detox? It's a 5-month detox.
Yeah. So the
6 months.
the average person tells you, like, I'm detoxing. What are you doing? Well, I'm drinking this juice for like 3 days.
Yeah, 3-day juice cleanse.
Okay, so you just absolutely cleansed out your entire gut, good bacteria, bad bacteria, like starting from ground zero. And then you ever notice people do that and they end up getting sick a couple days later? Have you ever found that pattern? Like,
yes.
So what are you doing to your immune system? You're
why-
swiping everything out and you've got nothing, right? So the protocol that I go through with Cellcore focuses first on drainage, right? Because the only way you're getting any pathogens, anything that's in your body, any toxins out is through a drainage. Whether that is bowel movements, whether that's your urine, whether that is your pores, your sinuses, right? It has to come out and excrete from somewhere. And if those things are not optimal and they're not working, right? Like if you have a pipe that's clogged in your house, you can't flush your toilet. It's the same thing, right? So we can't flush our body if everything is backed up. So it focuses on all of the steps in chronological order. So let's open up the drainage pathways. Okay, they're open now. So now let's open up the gut and get all of the things out of the gut. From there, now let's dive even deeper. What's going on in your lymph? What's going on in the extracellular matrix around all of your cells? What's going on, in your blood, whatever it may be, because now that can filter into the gut to then be excreted. Right. So it goes chronologically of really making sure that you are doing what you need. So your body, one, it's not so harsh that it's doing it overnight and everything just gets wiped out of your body, because it's not going to work. So it's very, very in depth, and that's why so like I said, drainage, right? That focus is for a month.
Got it.
Then you move on to the next phase. That phase goes on to your gut, right? That's month 2.
Okay.
Month 3 would be deeper. We're talking lymphatic system, all of that.
Okay.
4 is kind of that coming around overall immunity, well-being, and then wrapping it back up. So I did it last year. I felt amazing. And now I've just gotten to a point for me that I like it. I want to do it each year. So
I was going to say, like, would you just go through a 5 or 6 month cycle and then just start it again?
Yeah.
And then just continually living like that?
Yeah. So I went off of it for 7, 8 months. Okay. And I was still doing some supplements here and there. And then I was like, you know what?
What supplements did you use?
So still from Cellcore, basically that pack that we talked about earlier,
pack.
like I call it my athlete pack. That's not officially what it's called. I just use it.
That's what you coined it. Yeah.
But yes,
Makes sense.
like minerals, getting minerals back into my body, using BCATP for just recovery from workouts, optimizing glucose, things like that. But as it pertained to my overall health, and again, I live an 80-20 lifestyle. So I am still ingesting sugars and processed carbs and all of that. And I just noticed, I'm like, you know what? I felt like those toxins were kind of building back up again. I just wasn't feeling great.
Right.
And I was like, you know what, let's do this again. And also partnered with knowing that my surgery was coming up, and I was for sure adding toxins in with all of the stuff they were going to be giving me, right? Like what I call it the cocktail. What cocktail did they knock me out with?
Totally.
What was in
medication
that?
cocktail.
Right?
Yeah.
Get that out of my system. Get any of the painkillers out of my system, the muscle relaxers, any of that was taken in that first week. My body was freaking out. It had no idea what to do with that. I felt awful. I had the worst migraines ever, right? So I wanted it all out.
Yeah. What post-op, what did they give you? Medications?
I had oxycodone, I had aspirin, and I don't know the name of the muscle relaxer. If you said it,
Cam? It's usually a common one.
maybe.
Okay.
To be honest, I
So
don't know.
muscle relaxer, aspirin, and then an opioid, right? Oxycodone.
And then they gave me some other ones if I wanted them, of basically like higher strength Tums and gastric stuff. I was like, I know enough about gut health that's just going to make things worse. So no, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was.
Did you need any of the pain meds afterwards?
I took them for the first three to 4 days, and then just cold turkey, said sayonara. Yeah.
The one time that I Percocet, I think it was Percocet I took for a little while, and then oxycodone maybe. It was after I had my wisdom teeth taken out in college. And I literally took it for 1 day.
Yeah.
I remember like literally falling asleep playing video games. So I couldn't do anything, right? My jaw's swollen, everything hurts. And I took one and I was like, because it was throbbing.
You were just out.
I was out. I was just I woke up in my chair. Like,
drowsy.
Yeah. And I went to bed.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was like, I think we're good. I don't need more. I didn't even, although I didn't know otherwise, like how, it's a slippery slope, unfortunately.
Well, and for me, the thing is
I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know. You know what I mean?
Well, and that was just what I was about to say is awareness, right? Like for me, I want to be body aware with everything, with food, all of it. So if my body's telling me that it's in pain, I want to know to a certain degree that it's in pain. I don't mean that in the sense of like, don't let me sleep and I'm just going to like, grin and bear it. But I want to know when there's pain so I know what I can and can't do. Right? If I'm sitting here right now and I'm in pain, which I'm not, but if I were, my body's telling me not to do this.
Yeah, it's a signal. Yeah.
So I didn't want to turn off those signals. Right. So I was just like, nah, we're done with all this.
Okay, so love ginger. Let's talk about magnesium. I feel like it's pretty trendy right now, I'm seeing.
Well, it's trendy in the sense of there's a lot of people who just have started taking it, right? But magnesium is one of the electrolytes that you do need in your body. So, and most people are lacking tremendously in that category.
The other I've heard the people are lacking a lot is vitamin D and magnesium.
Well, yeah, because everybody's scared of the sun.
Yeah.
Everyone's scared of the sun.
Right.
Who isn't, right?
Anyway, so magnesium.
Yeah, so magnesium.
Benefits?
So I take it every single night. I have two companies. This is just what I use. There are plenty of great companies out there. Empirica is one of them. That is powdered. So it's a tiny little scooper. This, like if you've ever taken creatine, which another supplement everyone should be taking. But you just scoop it into some water. It tastes like berry and wild berries. Drink it real quick. Another one is Biooptimizers has a good one that's in capsules. Okay. So I just started tinkering with that. I don't see a difference in either of them. I sleep just as great with it. I feel just as great with both of them, but I wanted to have an option that was easier to travel with, particularly for my athletes. I don't travel as much as they do, but it's harder to just bring a scoop, mix it with water if you're at a hotel or whatever. So I wanted there to be another option. So those are the two I've tinkered with. I feel like that I really like.
Also more likely to get stopped by TSA or something. Like, what's this powder?
Yeah. I mean, because it's a jar about yay big with a twistable cap, and all of a sudden you open it and there's all this powder in there. Yeah, like it's just test that. Yeah, it's easier to travel with the capsules.
It makes total sense.
So
interesting. So sleeping, huge benefit with magnesium.
Huge with sleep, huge with recovery, muscle aches, things like that. And again, all of this is just test it yourself. Right. See how you feel.
If you react to it and how you respond to it.
Yeah.
I feel like with that being said, personally, I seem to respond really well to creatine.
Yeah,
creatine monohydrate.
So do I.
Whey protein isolate. I feel better than just standard whey.
Sure.
And then branched chain amino acids. Usually they're infused with the whey protein isolate.
What kind of protein do you take? What company?
Whatever's on sale.
Check your ingredients.
No, I do. So
Okay, good.
No, I do check that. I try to get the bare bones as possible.
Yeah.
I do like it when the BCAs are included because BCAs taste so bad, and I don't want to get another powders to mix in. It's just another step. I'm like, it's I gotta get going. And then beta alanine.
Okay.
I seem to respond well to that too.
Okay.
So I usually I'll stack those. Like if I'm in like a building phase or a strength phase I'm trying to get into, and I'll take a drug holiday usually, and then I'll get back into it like maybe a month after that.
Yeah.
But
that's good.
But anyway, creatine monohydrate. There's a ton of research about
Everyone
that.
should be taking it, women included.
It's crazy.
Women are scared of it because they feel like it's a manly supplement.
So
like,
pregnant.
no.
I wrote recently about pregnancy, and pregnant helps with the.
I take 5 grams. Let's say every time I work out, for sure. But even some days, if I'm just like, hey, I am on the go and I need, like this morning, I needed a protein shake, just wanted to take it to go. That happened to be my breakfast today.
Throw some creatine.
I still took it. Yeah. Like it's great.
It's crazy.
I feel so much better when I take it.
Definitely everybody do your own due diligence, but there's definitely
100%.
ton of studies and research to support the benefits of creatine with a very, very, very low risk.
Yeah.
Of like, if you take too much or not, like there's like no risk of what I've been reading.
Right. Well, and let's emphasize that, right? Do your due diligence and research everything. This is not a Kyle and I saying everyone has to take magnesium. They have to take BCATP. They have to take everything we're talking about.
Right.
This is what works for me and this is what works for him. But just giving you guys some insight as far as what that
Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's cool. And then, so magnesium, creatine, ginger, turmeric with black pepper, omegas. Mm-hmm. What about vitamin D?
Vitamin D, I mean, ideally, go get it from the sun, right? But that's the same thing with all supplements. Ideally, get it from food if you can.
Natural sources.
Especially if you can get sun. Now, here's the deal. We start going back and forth with the concept of, skin cancer, how long to be in the sun, how close are you to the equator versus not. Right. Clearly, you're not getting vitamin D.
In general.
Yeah, all of it. That concept of bio-individuality keeps coming back. Everybody's so different. If you live up north. Yeah.
If you live up north. Factor. Yeah.
Or, I mean, even just down to like my sister and my daughter are super fair skinned. They're in the sun for a few minutes and they're turning red super quick. Yeah. I could be out there for a few hours. I mean, I'll eventually start to burn, but it takes a while, Yeah. So everyone's a little bit different. So ideally, you're getting it from the sun in moderation, being smart, right? Again, super bio individual there. But if you need it, especially for people like if you live up north, a snowy climate, a cold climate, you can absolutely supplement and get that in because you need it. Powder drops like for vitamin D? I think everyone's different. I have experimented with drops. I don't supplement myself with it because we live in Florida and we're blessed to have the sun. So I haven't had deficiencies with it. Maybe when I was a kid, but I wouldn't know that now just because I grew up in the Chicago suburbs. But the one that I have experimented with was in drops, and didn't have issues with that. So I think that is yet again, just tinker with it yourself. What works better, what doesn't, how you feel. Right. For sleep, what biohacking stuff really helps to improve quality sleep? We love biohacking. So blue light blockers are great. That keeps all of these lights that we have created as humans, right? Yeah. We weren't supposed to see lights other than the moon and the stars after the sunset. There just weren't lights. We haven't evolved yet to that point. So if you're sitting there on your phone, or if we were sitting in here right now, you can't tell sitting here if it's morning, noon, evening. Right. Like we have no idea. It could be 3:00 in the morning. That's why Vegas is so successful. Exactly. I heard they pump pure oxygen. 24/7. Pure oxygen. There's no clock. If you ever go to Vegas, have you ever been? There's no clocks. There's no clocks anywhere. They pump pure oxygen throughout some of the AC vents. Sure. And then there's no windows. So you have no idea what time it is. Exactly. And they feed you free drinks. Right. Genius. Gamble. Genius. Great recipe. They're on it. I mean, they know what they're doing. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so blue light blockers are huge. A lot of things, right? 80-20 again, that concept. I catch myself on my phone all the time late at night. But if you can avoid staring at your phone, all those things, like if the people who are scrolling on Instagram right before bed, it's probably not going to help you, right? I'm notorious for doing it too, but my sleep proves that I'm okay. So it's what works for you. majority of people shouldn't be on their phones and scrolling. Again, magnesium. Magnesium's great. You take it about 30 minutes before you're going to bed. That can help with sleep and recovery, really as it pertains to muscle and recovery too. So that's really good. Food. Stop eating food about 2 hours before you're going to go to bed, so your body has time to digest. If you're eating and going right to bed, you're not giving your body the time that it needs, and a lot of people will start seeing that their sleep quality is down.
Interesting. How so? Because I definitely catch myself doing that.
Yeah. So the second you put food into your mouth, your stomach starts working, right? Everything starts working through your digestive tract. So if you are trying to get into a parasympathetic state, which means you're trying to calm yourself down, right? Because that's what you're doing to go to bed.
Right.
You are now amplifying that, and you're going into sympathetic state, and your body is starting to get to work.
Yeah.
Right? So ideally, what you want to do in a perfect world is eat dinner, let's say 6:30, 7 o'clock, maybe walk around, play with your kids before they go to bed, whatever, get moving so that your digestion gets going, right? And then allow yourself to simmer off, calm down at night. If you are going to do something like a hot tea or just sip on some electrolytes, something simple that it's not going to, get you all wired up.
A huge digestive moment.
Yeah. And then simmer down into sleep. So within that 2 hour window, that's also where you're trying to stay away from all of the TV if you can, the blue light if you can. And if you're going to watch it, blue light blockers on. Again, catch myself all the time. I don't have my glasses on, right?
Say blue light blockers, just glasses. They have special glasses.
I mean, you can get them anywhere. Amazon. If you want really quality ones, there's a couple companies like Bond Charge is really good. That's where I have mine from. But I mean, for the most part, majority are good. There's a few that, they sell them so cheap that that they're just not good quality. Yeah. That's like anything. If you can find a t-shirt for $4, it's probably going to shrink on you the first time you throw it into the dryer. Same concept, right? Like find something that's decent. Again, my favorite's Bond Charge. They're great because it keeps that blue light, which is the light that our bodies don't want once the sun goes down. It messes with your circadian rhythm and all of that for your sleep. So it keeps it at bay in a way. So your eyes aren't seeing that and keeping you up.
Blue light, don't eat within an hour and a half, 2 hours before you go to bed, like a heavy meal.
Correct.
Because that kicks in the sympathetic response. Block blue light. And don't scroll as much. And then magnesium supplementation.
About 30 minutes before you go to sleep.
And then routine is something else I've heard a lot of, like your body expects it's like bedtime. It's bedtime. Like a routine.
Well, and start following primitively, right? And we talked all about that. If you guys want to go back to the first podcast, if you haven't seen that with us too, of nutrition and all things ancestral and again primitive. We were meant to wake up when the sun rises, maybe just before you work, because that's when you had the light. You could go and hunt, gather, do whatever you needed to do. And then as the sun started to set, you were getting into a safe space because you wanted to get away from any kind of animals, predators, whatever. Like we're speaking very primitively. But that's as humans, how we were still meant to be. We were still supposed to sleep on that cycle.
Still have those instinctual habits.
So
I was going to say, with the sympathetic and parasympathetic, the autonomic nervous system responses, right? It makes total sense because it takes a little while for all that the neural activation to shift away from sympathetic and then back into a parasympathetic.
Right.
So that shifting time is like a couple, like an hour at least.
Oh, another really good one that I tell everybody, cut your caffeine by, 2 p.m.'s even pushing it. Noon, 1, have your caffeine in the morning if that's what you're going to do. And get going. So with that, I have a lot of people, right? They work out in the afternoon. So they want to take pre-workout at 4 or 5 o'clock before their 5:30 workout. You're just adding into that. Tough. So that's where it's like, again, what works for you? Because if you have the caffeine at 4:30, but you get such a good workout in that you're able to burn it and you're sleeping great, that works for you. Right. For me, it would never work. My sleep, I follow all my Whoop data so I can see it. I'm so in tune with it after wearing this thing for several years that the few times I've done evening workouts and I do drink a Celsius or have pre-workout or whatever before, it is compromising my sleep because that's the only difference between the day prior. So
I've
something to consider.
I don't take pre-workout anymore. I feel like I'm like, man, it's just a crap ton of caffeine. I'm like, I feel amped, great.
For sure.
And I was like, wait a second, it's just literally caffeine. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I don't the creatine. I can just take that by itself. Beta alanine, I'll take that by itself. I'll get tingly, right? But I'm like, if I can break this cycle and set other things up for success so that when I do get to my workout, which is usually afternoon, I'm not just like tired and wiped out.
Sure.
Then I don't need the caffeine to boost me up for a good workout. It's just a matter of breaking the cycle at the beginning. But anyway, I just didn't like it. I was like, man, I don't
Just don't feel right.
Yeah.
But again, that's you recognizing it. So that's huge.
Yeah, right. But anyway, so that was huge for me. So more about biohacking then. A definition that I saw recently, you tell me what you've seen. It's the dissemination of applied physiology, exercise, nutrition, and lifestyle change to improve your health and overall well-being.
Right. So what do we sum that up as? Something extra that's going to help you progress in life.
Amplify and facilitate the things that are going to make it better.
Yeah.
The add-ons. So with anxiety, right, we have magnesium, good for sleep, also helps with anxiety. And then selenium in soil and plants. I've heard that that's been a big, like to have natural sources, right? Like where's your produce coming from? And then
100%.
Soil that has a lot of those nutrients already in it can help amplify the benefits nutritionally that come from those produce.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say honestly that isn't even so much biohacking as much as it is just nutrition based of sourcing for, if we're talking about plants and for food, right?
Yeah.
Vegetation, all of that, of just finding good sources. But yeah, absolutely that, use it. Again, if it works for you, it works for you, right? Because I even have clients who are completely animal based or carnivore that they're not using plants and they feel great and their blood work looks good. So if it looks good, keep rolling with it.
We're on the right track.
Yeah.
Win. What other biohacking stuff that comes to mind? So we have...
Oh, anyone who knows me knows sauna and cold plunge.
Yeah.
We love contrast therapy. It's so
Contrast.
good. It's so good. And you can use them solo.
How come? Why the contrast?
So many benefits. Cold plunge and sauna are both great. What is his name? Has a ton of good information. Huberman Lab.
Yep.
You follow him?
Yeah.
Okay, so him and Joe Rogan, as much as I don't like the fact that Joe Rogan is getting in on health and fitness and like all of that, he has a lot of great people that come in speaking on all of these concepts,
fields.
Right?
Yeah.
Cold Plunge themselves have a good Instagram and a lot of the other brands that are using them or creating tubs, right? They put a lot of information out there. But what it does for anxiety, depression, you have to center yourself. When you're in that kind of cold or hot, you have to go to a special place to be able to, stay in it.
To manage it, yeah.
Right. As opposed to, on average, if you were to just, get into the cold plunge really quick and you don't calm your mind, you're just going to want to get out.
Yeah.
Because you're
panic.
Yeah. Again, you're spiking that sympathetic state. If you can get yourself calm while you're in those
Despite that.
Yeah. Imagine what you can do when you're having a panic attack.
Yeah.
When your workout's really hard. When you're an athlete and it's buzzer beater shot or you're coming up the 18th fairway and you're only ahead by one stroke and you have to make par here or you're going to lose, right? Yeah. All of those things that benefit anyone from any realm.
Say moms and dads that are battling some stress and anxiety with family life.
For sure.
Financial stuff that's going on.
For sure.
All the
any bit
stuff.
of it. Yeah. I mean, and then
makes sense.
And then you even get things like if you start looking at it, how cold activates the brown fat for weight loss, or if you allow the cold water to hit your vagus nerve, what that does to your nervous system. And so that's on the cold side. On the hot side, you're talking about sweating out toxins, heat exposure. One, it just feels good. It does, right? It's the same thing. People want to take a nice, warm, hot shower. Yeah. So
hop in the jacuzzi.
Yeah. In that way, it's the same as if I tell somebody, go meditate, just go think through things. You just feel good and calm and nice. So now if you're going back and forth between those two, what is that doing for you overall? You're getting all of the benefits of it. So
I know that there's a lot of, there's some good benefits that have been found for cold plunge for sure. Yeah. And also a lot of controversy of it, finding some things with ice and cold plunge. It's like the validity behind it and some of the research is not so super supportive as in does it do what it's actually purported to do? There's a lot of controversy and questions around that. But when I did a cold plunge, when I was in college after 2 days, football and stuff, I felt like $1 million afterwards.
100%.
I can't explain
Well, and how about
it.
recovery wise, right?
Yeah.
For me, I could put ice on my hip. Okay. But prior to surgery, I would get in there. It'd be 48 degrees. I'd put my arms up on the side of the tub because if you hit that vagus nerve, you're not staying in there very long, right? If you sink down and the water's to your chin, you're in there 2-3 minutes because you just can't. Your core is frozen. So I could get in there, arms on the side of the tub, water about sternum high, and I could sit there for 25 minutes. That was the best way that I could ice my hips so it just felt better.
Yeah.
Because it covers everywhere. The water's touching you everywhere, right?
Right.
So even for me, thinking beyond just stress and all of those things and, you know, any kind of weight loss modality or whatever, but simply that was a tool for me that I could submerge that entire area that was inflamed from having, you know, issues and tears and whatever.
Yeah.
So even thinking from that side of it.
Yeah, totally.
And now post-surgery, now that the incisions are healed, getting in there to, again, just keep icing it, keep the inflammation down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say was like, from my understanding, there seems to be an endocrine hormone response and a neurological response with that extreme temperature change.
Sure.
That can lead to like better efficiency recovery and stuff.
100%.
And then I love that of like, if you have to get into a state of mind in order to manage that for 3 minutes to 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So for a mental health standpoint, it was like, you know, you have to get in a mental state to sustain that and manage that. Which means like when things come up later, you're going to handle it better usually.
Sure.
Or at least set it for success. And then also there's a confidence component too. I was like, if I'm able to tackle that, then I can do other things
Everything's easy.
It makes sense and it works. Like,
I tell everybody, if you're going to do it, if it's possible to have a heart rate monitor on and try to actively bring your heart rate down, slow your breathing. I make a game out of it. I set my phone up because I'll set my Whoop so I can see my heart rate. And I get in that initial cold, it's like, hey, heart rate spikes 140.
Yeah,
right.
Totally.
So now I'm sitting there, I'm calming my breathing, and I've gotten it down to like, I think 48 is my lowest sitting in the cold plunge.
That's impressive.
But usually somewhere in like the mid 50s is where I can get down
also
to.
Really, still really impressive.
Yeah. All I do, I'm like, you are in here until you can get it all the way down into the 50s, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
Right. So then it's the mental game of, I don't want to necessarily be in here forever, you know, so start playing the game. Then all of a sudden, prior to surgery, because now I've lost my tolerance after not being able to get in with, you know, my incisions being open. So now I'm at like 7 to 10 minutes is, you know, pretty harsh for me at this very moment. But before, I craved it.
Yeah.
I craved getting in there. I felt so much better. My energy was better. I'd sleep better, all of it. And again, that's just experiencing for myself that, okay, yesterday I cold plunged and I felt amazing. I eat fairly similar most days, do the same things. I have my routine, you know, drop my daughter off, a workout, whatever. And then the next day I didn't cold plunge and I noticed and it made a difference. Whether it was my hip felt way more sore than it normally did and I was more inflamed or lack of mobility, or just down to energy wise. You know, I noticed a complete spike in energy when I would do it. For
Interesting. And then so the contrast was you're an advocate for that.
Yeah, for sure.
What about red light
going
therapy?
Back and forth. Red light therapy is great for a lot of things. Red light therapy is great for your skin, whether you have any kind of blemishes, psoriasis, things like that. It's been proven to help. Again, this is not getting to the root cause of the issue. You have something going on if, you know, you have any
pathology like that of the skin, right?
Right. So it's just, again, these are all additives for helping. Like for me, I use it on my scars, helps the scars. I used it after my C-section on that scar. The line is practically gone. You can barely see it. Now I've been using it. I had an arthroscopic surgery, so 3 little dots on the side of my hip, using it on there to make sure the coloring, you know, is at minimal in the future of breaking that up. It's good for sleep too. That's another good one for sleep. You can, because it's red light, it's not blue light. So the blue light is what bothers your circadian rhythm. Red light actually helps. So you can use that just like on your face, 10 minutes, go to sleep. I have done that a lot. You know, and then things just down to helps, again, get into that parasympathetic state of calming, that nurturing kind of feeling, like just the overall calmness of bringing you down. So what I like to do is actually pair that. Again, this isn't available to everybody easily. I recognize that. These are just things that take what you can. Right. But I have a sauna at home and I use the red light while I'm in the sauna. So I'm doing both.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And so that I feel great. You know, somebody else
Efficiency.
may hate sauna and they may hate the heat exposure, you know, so find what works for you,
Right.
you know,
Right.
but it's really, really good. Skin, mitochondria, you know, the reason it helps with sleep, very similar to the magnesium. It's helping with muscle recovery, you know, especially if you have a really quality red light. And I know we talk about that all the time, quality, but it's true. Like if you just go get some knockoff brand, it's not going to do anything. So getting a quality red light, what it can do and getting down to, you know, the cellular level.
I was going to say, so think what you said before, the mitochondria. So the red light therapy helps to stimulate mitochondria activity for recovery and energy.
And all of it. Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool. And then cupping. You're a fan of cupping.
I love cupping.
And then dry
I have
needling.
cup marks right now.
Yeah. And then dry needling, first time today is what you had done.
First time today. Thanks, Jess. That was an experience. So I'll let you speak on those two because I know you use both. But I love cupping. I've cupped myself for years. I've used it. So you're the doctor side. So I'd love to hear your side of it.
It's like it's just it's an avenue to mobilize soft tissue. Mm-hmm. I'm a huge fan of cupping. More so than Graston or scraping, or I asked him like instrument assisted soft tissue mobilization. It was like scraping.
Yeah.
The reason is because I'm like, man, if you have a lit up area, crushing and scraping something that's maybe already lit up for the benefit of trying to gain range of motion or tissue pliability.
Sure.
Man, I'm like, is the risk benefit ratio there, right?
Sure.
But cupping at least lifts and separates the tissue.
Breaks up the fascia.
And it helps to break up the adhesions and musculofascial skin adhesions, maybe limiting fiber gliding and tissue pliability.
Yeah.
And if it's just like limiting soft tissue restrictions.
Yeah.
So it helps to realign fibers, what they're finding, and it breaks up adhesions. And then it helps to deliver blood flow because it breaks up capillaries.
Yeah.
And then it just helps with tissue pliability, right?
Sure.
So all those benefits, it seems to be the biggest benefit for cupping. And then that's where you get like the bruising and stuff.
Yeah.
So they're like little hematomas.
Yeah.
Something we've got into is like, instead of putting cups on and like leaving 15 of them on one area, we'll just use one and we'll drag it with lotion over like a functional line.
Feels good.
It sucks. Like if you're in a lit up area,
it hurts, but it feels good at
like,
the same time.
It hurts
Is
so
that
good.
Bizarre?
Yeah. And then afterwards, it usually feels better, right?
Yeah.
It's just pain with a purpose temporarily, and it looks a lot worse than actually what it feels like afterwards. Where plenty of people come back and are like, yeah, I took my shirt off when you cut my shoulder. And my wife like freaked out, like, what the heck happened? Covered in bruises and stuff. It's like, well, it doesn't even hurt to the touch. It feels looser, right?
Well, yeah, because it's not actual bruising. A lot of people think it's like you just like beat up on somebody and the tissue's been damaged. You're bringing you're bringing the toxins out of where that fascia has been holding on to it for so long.
Right. And then, and so it's just an avenue to break up, to mobilize soft tissue.
Absolutely.
And then dry needling is a little bit different. You can
brutal. I can scream
necessarily
that into this mic.
It just depends on where you get it. And then like the
reminder that I just had surgery, so I'm very sensitive. All my muscles are tight. Everything's tight. So for that to be my first experience today, I was sweating. I believe sweating.
It. Yeah, I believe it.
I had a visceral reaction to it for sure.
Well, I mean, it was intense, to say the least. But
I mean, talk about wonders. Immediately.
Like, how so? What do you mean? Did you feel looser? The
tightness I was feeling, just like it felt like it was gone.
Yeah.
The workouts that I had been doing in PT last week as compared to today, I was able to drive my knee up to 90 degrees without even an issue.
So better range of motion. It feels less stiff.
Yeah. I mean, my PT even told me, she's like, listen, like, it's going to feel, pretty sore. Like you worked that muscle solely for an hour. And it does feel like that right now. Like my quad is already feeling it. And
usually soreness,
like 2 hours ago.
Post dry needling soreness is very common. Like you feel like you worked out. And so if you work out after dry needling too, like exercise and stuff like that, it can amplify that if you're not used to it. But usually like 24 to 48 hour soreness is a common thing. And then after the third day, it usually feels a lot better.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you've had it done a lot and your tissues aren't as vigilant, we call it hypervigilance.
Yeah.
And there's a neural hypervigilance associated with that too. And you're used to it, you're not gonna be as sore.
Sure.
But anyway, so the mechanisms, it seems like for dry needling, the research finds that it helps to break up like trigger points, localized trigger points.
Yep. All my knots are gone.
Knotted areas that get broken up, so we can purposely find those knots and then put a needle in it.
Yeah.
And then we can fan and piston around there to break up more tissue. And then you can wind it and twist it, and that helps to wrap the tissues around it. There's interesting like ultrasound microscopic imaging of like a thin, tiny little monofilament needle, right?
Yeah.
That,
itty bitty.
Yeah, tiny. And you put it in there, and if you twist it like that, the tissues will wrap around it. And there's interesting
You have muscle twitches.
And the muscle will twitch, right? If you get like the local twitch response, that's what you're looking for too. But the tissue will wrap around it. And you would think like a tiny little needle like that. And then when you try to pull it out, it sticks.
Yeah.
So you have to wait a little bit for that to release, and then you can pull the needle out.
What are your thoughts with adding electric stim to it?
100%. All right, I'll get there in a sec. So the main other benefits for like knots and trigger points and breaking up and the local twitch response that you get from the pistoning, the research finds it helps to lower the acetylcholine uptake in the muscle tissue.
Okay.
That's the neurotransmitter that helps with muscle activation. The other aggressive version of blocking acetylcholine is Botox. So botulinum toxin A is what helps to block acetylcholine, so the muscle becomes flaccid. All right, so what they're finding is dry needling, you put a needle in there, it helps to also deregulate the acetylcholine in the muscle tissue and the neurotransmitter. So it helps to get really tense muscles to settle down.
Right.
Okay, then I can also break up the muscle tissue and trigger points.
Sure.
The other interesting thing is it for a chronic degenerative process change of like maybe a chronic tennis elbow, lateral epicondylopathy or epicondylitis. There's a degenerative change that happens in the tendon tissue where it's like a breakdown over time. So if we can stimulate a healing response by putting a needle in it, we can help stimulate fibroblast activity, which are the cells that help lay down new collagen fibers. So it stimulates new fibroblast activity, lay down new collagen fibers, helps stimulate a healing response. And then with the micro trauma that happens at the cellular level and also the capillaries, it helps to re-stimulate angiogenesis of new capillaries and blood vessels to refill the area. So you have fibroblast activity, lay down new collagen fibers, new capillaries to innervate for blood flow for that's like for like a long-term chronic breakdown issue, degeneration of like a tissue. So there's a lot of benefits that come with it. It's really interesting. The last thing that helps to do is it helps to stimulate and recruit endogenous opioids for pain relief.
Yeah.
Those are what helps find. So like all those things kind of combine is what really, it seems to be the mechanisms for dry needling to help bring a benefit. Yeah. So we use it with a lot of people, right? I needle myself, right? I'll needle myself in my elbow, my back, like whatever.
Sure.
I definitely get a good reaction to it. But you gotta be careful. And of course that's where like,
see a professional. Don't go stab yourself.
Training and anatomical education to make sure you're hitting the right structures and avoiding dangerous structures is what you want to do and avoid. That's what's important, you know.
Yeah. Go see your PT.
Yeah, go see your guy or girl, and then and the goal is not to be super sore.
Yeah.
And very often when we insert the needles, because we'll get 3-inch needles with a very, very minute changes in diameter depending on the length of the needle and the tissue you're trying to hit. But 3-inch needles for stuff like getting the deep glutes and external rotators in a glute. 2-inch needles for like maybe the erector group in your low back or QL in your low back or a psoas or a 3-inch needle for your psoas. And then the 1-inch guys for like your upper neck.
Okay.
And then the tiny little guys for your TMJ to get like your lateral pterygoid, your masseter, and then the temporalis muscle. And then the actual TMJ joint itself, the temporal mandibular joint for your jaw. But anyway, that seems like a great benefit for the jaw stuff too.
Yeah.
But all that stuff, people often don't even feel it when it goes in. It's like, how'd that feel?
Yeah.
Wait, is it already in? They're like, yeah, you actually have 3 needles in your hip right now. Like, oh, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
And then the stim, the electrical stimulation, you can hook alligator clips and then attach electrical stim to it. That helps to amplify all those same changes. It's a biohacking.
As opposed to putting like the pad of
the tens. Yeah, like a pad.
Like you find it activates the
deep tissues.
Sure.
Yeah. And there's
even more.
It's a deeper neurological response, and then it helps to amplify those other mechanisms I was talking about with acetylcholine and then also fibroblast activity.
Very cool.
And endogenous opioids. So the stim helps to amplify those changes too. Those benefits. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So like, anyway, oftentimes people don't even feel it when it goes in.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I have 5 needles in me right now. Right? Yeah. It's like, how's that one feel? Ooh, that's a little tight. I feel it twitch and it'll jump. And we'll put the stim on those guys, sit for like 5, sometimes 15 minutes, depending. Okay. And then that's like a dry needling treatment. We'll do that in conjunction with other manual therapy and the cupping soft tissue before or after. Yeah. But then the main thing though, especially where you're at, we have to solidify those changes with corrective exercises.
100%.
That's what's going to actually like solidify and change the changes that you're looking for, and then bring the long-term change. So when people go back to like, hey, I'm ready to run now, I feel better. Yeah. We ask our clinicians, right, and then also for like postdoc fellowship training clinicians we mentor, how well is the pain not coming back? Yeah. Because if it is returning, that means you didn't really solve the underlying problem.
100%.
And that's usually the root cause.
With everything, right? Root cause with you guys in your PT clinic. Yeah. Root cause with me with nutrition.
So anyway, we'll get you in when you're ready, and we'll do some, when you're ready to.
Do we film that and put it on the podcast?
Oh, Totally can. We'll document it. We'll at least social media.
Watch Brianna twitch.
Yeah. Like, oh gosh, watch her jump.
Yeah.
That was a hard one.
Yeah.
That's what we hear that sometimes.
I started glute bridging today. And she kept coming up the quad and in towards the scar tissue. I was like,
good.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, I was sweating. Clammy. Hands were clammy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's part of the process.
I'm fine with that. Put me on camera.
But if you can handle that, then you can handle other things too.
Yeah. And guess what? Cold plunging made it easier.
There you go.
I went to my happy place.
Prepared. Yeah.
Yeah. Go to your happy place.
Good.
And let's be honest, everything we do, like to a certain degree, it is biohacking. Do everything, all the good stuff for your body, add it, but add what you can, right? Yeah. I recognize a lot of the stuff we talked about is expensive today. A lot of the stuff isn't a necessity. Mm-hmm. It's a help. So do what you can, do all the extras. It's worth it.
Cool. Well, that's awesome.
For sure.
We'll get that on film.
That'll be funny.
Stay tuned.
Bloopers.
Well, thanks for coming in again. That was awesome with biohacking stuff and other cool stuff. We'll get you in again.
Thanks for having me.
Talk about next, maybe like exercise progressions and like your progression of your surgery and your recovery and stuff.
All the
remind everybody again where they can find you, how they can reach out to you if they want some nutrition and health coaching, wellness coaching.
Yeah, for sure.
Structures.
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram. You guys can get me at Coastal Breeze Wellness. So that's Coastal BRIS for my name. And email's the same, coastalbreezewellness@gmail.com.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming in. If y'all have questions for us, adrenaline questions, biohacking questions, definitely reach out to us. You can find us at Athlete Restoration Co. on Instagram or athleterestorationcompany.com. And definitely reach out. We love to answer questions.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
We'll
Appreciate it.
Next time.
See you guys.
Hey, hold up. As you know, we're a small local practice and we don't run any ads or sell anything on this podcast, but it would mean the world if you could share, write a post or word of mouth recommendation for somebody just like you that's athletic and active that wants to live their dynamic lifestyle and pay some good karma and pay it forward to somebody else just like you. And who knows, you could change their world and a 10-second review could be that avenue.